What is Superman's favorite? Let's try this again. Take two. What is Superman's least favorite dinosaur?
Cryptosaurus. I don't know.
A Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Oh,
Good.
Welcome to the greatest DC Comics show on YouTube. You have found Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. Two of us got the memo about the wardrobe for tonight. One of us did not. Starting with the Brown Lantern, Comic Crew 2814. Welcome to the show.
how's it going? You're right. I missed an opportunity. I have my Metropolis shirt too, but
Yeah. Well,
Fail.
maybe next week when all of us aren't wearing ours.
yeah.
He's at least a week behind in the wardrobe department.
Yep. And hello to Signature King. How are you?
I'm doing great. Trying to stay out of the
Good.
rain.
Yeah, we've had a lot of rain going on here. We're probably getting your stuff a few days before you get it. So a day.
Yeah,
or so
my
before
dad
you
in
get it.
No rain.
Iowa is pretty much filming an Aquaman movie.
Yeah,
It's
there's been a lot
right in his
going
own,
on.
right in town. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's more surprising when there's a day without rain, which isn't much. And I haven't had any today, but I'm sure that will change. Day isn't over yet.
Thank you, Lasso. I'm getting roasted in the chat right now.
Well, let's see who is in that chat to say hello to us. Hello to Copy 801. Thanks for stopping by. Uh-oh. Bleecker Street Comics is here. One of these is not the same. Fur.
There was no memo. There
Is
was
he-
no memo.
Is he
These
for
guys
real?
conspired against me.
Is he for real?
Yeah.
I would say the biggest wardrobe accomplishment on this show's absolute history is when COVID first kicked off. It was the first show during the lockdown. And we didn't even plan this, but as soon as Tim hit live, me and Comic Fu both whipped out gas masks at the same time.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Completely unplanned. It was awesome.
Yeah.
For those that obviously don't see the Fanboys chat, did you guys like my idea that I floated today about Tim?
Yeah,
I loved it. I thought it was
Let's do
great.
it.
Should I
Yeah.
share that now so everyone else knows, or do you think Tim would get mad?
Well, I mean, it's just like for internal use. I mean, it's not like open to the public, right? But I think we
Yeah.
can tell them.
Okay, it's an internal use thing, so they don't
Yeah.
necessarily qualify for it.
Called
Right,
the pilot
Right.
program.
Only we
Yeah.
qualify.
Yeah, okay. So here's the deal. You know how sometimes you find an incredible bargain on a comic book or something superhero related, like a statue or toys or whatever. And it's an amazing bargain, but at that moment, you just don't have the cash for it for whatever reason. That happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
All the time.
So when it happens, it's my understanding that we can go to Tim now for financing on this.
Yes.
And we get the enjoyment of getting our item at a great price. He gets the enjoyment of helping us get that item at a great price. We do have to pay him back whenever we're able to, with 1% interest yearly added in. But now I tell him the best part, right? This program is called an ATIM.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think it works.
I mean, he liked the post, so
Yeah.
He didn't oppose
I mean,
it.
and if he was against this, I mean, he would have come on the show to talk about it.
or
you
we
know?
could vote on it.
Right. We could.
The majority will decide if that happens or not. But
But
yeah, our own personal ATIM.
I like it.
But it's just for superhero and comic book stuff that we can't afford.
Right.
You can't
right.
like pay your electric bill with that or nothing like that.
well,
No,
there's a
no.
lot of stuff that I can't afford that I want. So
Well, then
But it's
you're
not
gonna-
like layaway where we don't get the item. No, we get the item right
yeah,
away.
we get the item immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And no limit, right?
Well, I didn't see a limit on there. Did you?
No.
See,
Yeah,
there
see,
are-
this is what I was afraid of. Now Copy wants Tim to get a book for him. No, this is for fanboy use only.
Yeah, you'd have to become a fanboy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't like
Yeah, actually.
Supergirl in this show, so sorry.
I don't know if I could even
Oh.
afford the interest on that, though. To be honest with you, I don't know if I could afford the interest on that.
Yeah.
The yearly interest on that, I still don't know if I could afford that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd get a Swamp Thing #1, House of Mystery.
Do want to say hello to I Collect a Lot, who has joined us as well.
Hey man, how's it going?
That's true. He was on the show several times.
We've got the wrench.
Hey.
Yeah, you gave him a wrench. He might as well be.
I can take that away. So,
Okay.
speaking of someone who's been on the show multiple times, she hit 1,000 subscribers this weekend. Congratulations to silver-haired Bronze Age babe.
Very nice.
So
Very
that is awesome. Tony, she smoked our asses.
It wasn't
She
even close.
You know, before she started doing her YouTube short, she was around 423 or so subscribers.
Yeah, less than us. Yeah.
Then she came on her show. Maybe we tried to encourage her a little bit to try the shorts, and she did. She smoked our asses. Passed us faster than the Flash.
I was looking at some of the stats. She was on average getting 4 to 5 new subs every day.
That's amazing. I mean, she puts out incredible content.
She does.
So I'm
She's
surprised.
not saying it's not undeserved. It's
very
deserved.
deserved.
Yeah. Good for
Yeah.
her. Hey, now she can start making money.
She can. And support her hobby.
She can. There you go.
Well, that's amazing. Maybe
And
she
soon, Comic Food 2014 would hit 1,000 subs. I wonder how many subs you've lost and have gained. Because that hasn't changed. Yeah.
He has 14,000.
Yeah, I have 14,000 still.
Yeah. Waiting with breath that is baited.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So how was everyone's week? How was everyone's weekend?
Not long enough.
Yeah.
It was good. It was very hot. We had no rain, just a lot of heat. And I was outside working in it, so it was fun.
Oh boy.
We had a weird storm yesterday. It was 103 degrees and it was absolutely pouring.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So it's like, do you go outside and enjoy the rain, but it's also extremely hot, but it's raining? So you don't know what to do.
Getting burned by the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it caused this huge branch to fall in my backyard. So I'm taking care of that today. I'm all sore. Bust out the old chainsaw.
Nice.
That's pretty much it. Not looking forward to Monday, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'll be here before you know it.
Unfortunately.
So as we start to turn our attention to some news from DC Comics, and there's a few things definitely to talk about. One of the lighter stories, perhaps, to talk about. Do you guys remember what the very first appearance of Robin looked like? That cover? Do you remember that?
Yep.
I think so.
That's what it looked like. Okay, cool, right?
Yes.
Look at this really neat homage that is going to be coming to this cover. You guys like?
No.
You don't?
I'm not a fan.
Okay. What about you, Fu?
I don't really get it.
Yeah, I don't understand.
He's graduated from Robin into Nightwing.
Right, but why is the other Robin there?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Because someone has to hold the thing that he's busting through.
But see, it's a senior holding it for a junior, so shouldn't Nightwing be holding it for like Jason Todd or something?
Well, he can't, because this comic book is going to be a one-shot Nightwing Uncovered. And it looks like, I'm starting to think that DC is going to be, they've done a few of these already, and I think they're going to start doing a lot more of them. Essentially what they are pinups of some of the best covers from that title. I thought it was a cool release myself, and a cool cover for it. But that is coming in stores, I believe, let me double check, September, I believe.
All the good covers come out in September.
Date. So one thing that I wanted to talk about, because I'm definitely not September 11th, actually. I was definitely not smart enough to think of this like Signature King was. I had wished for a long time, after I saw that you had done it already, that I had like taken one of those Wonder Woman galleries or whatever and got the individual pages signed by the artist who did the pinups inside. It's a brilliant idea. But to me, this might be like the new version of a gallery if they end up doing one for Wonder Woman, which I have a feeling they will because she has had some awesome covers. So
Yeah.
it's something to think about. It just depends on how many different artists are included. You know, if it's 20 covers all by the same artist, then that's kind of odd. You know?
It kind of defeats the purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's fun putting those collections together and talking to each one of the individual artists if that's the route they go and kind of learn about their process. And it's a fun project to do. I highly recommend it.
And hello to John's Comics with Kids. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, John.
What do you guys think about that concept of that they've been doing these uncovered, which just kind of collects some of the covers, virgin variants of them?
I think it's cool. If done properly, it could be a big market. I know there's a lot of people who buy books exclusively for covers. So
cover buying is a thing. Raise your hand if you've ever cover bought.
No.
Yep. Everyone does it.
Yeah. There's
I may have gotten a few of the fanboys started on some particular foil covers.
In my defense, I've always been big on foils. I just never knew that there was like a site other than like eBay where it's like when the logos were coming out, I was like, oh hell yeah. Like
yeah.
But my poor wallet was just like, please stop.
You should have tried buying Wonder Woman 750s.
Oof. Yeah, I'm glad I don't do that.
Like 50 some covers?
53 covers, and some of them were exclusives from outside of North America.
Ouch.
Really?
But I got them.
That's gotta hurt.
But I got them.
That's awesome. They don't do that with heroes like me.
Dubai has my address. Australia has my address. Hey, Super Russ 9000, how you doing there?
He's here for Superman.
Oh, he is. He's probably wearing his Superman shirt too.
Oh,
he probably instinctively just knew.
Yeah. His Superman sense was tingling.
Yeah. So, Tony, also in news, probably maybe one of the bigger news stories. A decision's been made about that Matina AI cover.
He's officially fired from DC. Big time, yeah.
Really? What happened?
Let me see if I can find the article. I don't know if you were you here that week?
I don't know if he was here that week or not.
Oh yeah, here it is. Found it right away. Okay. Let me pull up my screen here.
They pulled his covers, not only the cover that was in question, but all his future covers as well.
So here's
AI. Oh.
Yeah, here's the evidence. Okay, so we see how the Superman has a curve, right? But if you look closely at the bottom, see if I can do this here. See, it has like a monkey tail at the bottom. Has like two tails on the left. Yeah.
Oh.
So, and he didn't fix it. He just let it go. So people were pointing it out, but this isn't the first time he's been accused of using AI. So
that probably took all of 45 seconds for to generate once he typed it in, and then he got this huge paycheck for that.
I wonder what AI app he was using because I use a lot of AI, especially in my work, and I can't generate any copyrighted material. So
I've been able to. I have tried it. There was one that I tried just for fun to see what I could do. And I mean, this was just all for internal, for me, not published anywhere. I never used it for anything. I just wanted to see what it would look like or what I could do on it. And some of it was amazing.
Oh yeah.
And I did Wonder Woman stuff, and I have a couple AI images. It's funny. There's always one specific Wonder Woman thing that I'll type in as my first one trying out an AI just to see what it generates. And it's always Wonder Woman petting a beagle. I've got some amazing images of Wonder Woman petting a beagle.
Thanks for the info there, Copy. I'll have to play around with it. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy how AI changes comic book art
Yeah.
because
Hey,
it's gonna
Kenneth
be
Bird.
really easy for
Hi, Kenneth.
anybody
Thanks
to
for
make a
stopping
comic.
in.
Yeah, I wonder how they're gonna make rules against that in the future, or maybe for it. I don't
You
know.
won't even have to write it. You know?
Yeah.
I guess as long as someone speaks the language and knows how to like ask for specific prompts, if you know what keywords to hit, I mean, you could probably 16th
yeah.
capital type stuff, or you can get really good at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
How will
okay at best.
How will they stop it?
I guess like there's really no way. They're probably gonna make. See, that's why I like the paper art, like the original paper art, because that's the guarantee. Look, here it is, done in pencils.
Yeah. No, and I still like that better than the digital art. I think we've lost something now that everything's gone digital.
Yeah, I agree. That's one thing that I really. There's certain things that I would love to collect from like different colors and artists and stuff, but like, dude, is because it's stopped. The market for that is absolutely through the roof. Sometimes, just it's priced out of market for at least for me. When I go to Baltimore, I look at the original art booths all the time, and some of them are like $400, just for an 8.5 by 11.
Wow,
it's insane.
I'm really happy that I obtained the original art that I have obtained and when I did, because I certainly cannot afford it now.
Yeah, that's true.
So, Fu, being such a huge Green Lantern fan, is there like a piece of Green Lantern original art that would be like your grail piece if you could own? And try to answer with something realistic, something that you think that the art still exists for, or because some of that Silver Age stuff, I don't think it exists anymore.
Yeah,
No, they threw it out. They threw it away back then.
That's crazy. Yeah, well, I mean, it's unattainable, of course, but Emerald Twilight, right? That would be my go-to.
That'd be a good one. I like that. That's a good answer. What about you, Lasso? What do you think?
There's a Wonder Woman cover I would love to have, and I found all the other covers leading right up to that issue. Then I can't find that issue, and I found a whole mess of them right after that issue. But that one issue, and I've been looking for this. Granted, I don't look every week, but I've been looking for this for decades. And like I said, I have been able to find all the issues leading up to it and a whole handful of issues after it.
So somebody's not letting go.
Either that or it was destroyed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, could be.
But it would seem odd considering all the other ones before and all the other ones right after survived.
Yeah.
I'd pick Power of Shazam coming out from 1995, especially cover 1. If I could get that, and get Jerry Ordway to sign it, that'd be, something I'd take to the grave with me. I think it'd be cool beans.
Copy, I want to remind you of a very popular saying. Where there's a will, there's a way you can get your name in
it. This one is a lot of interesting. I know someone who wants, to be Guinness Book of World Records for a Green Lantern collection, but hasn't done anything about it.
Yeah. People have even contributed to try to help him be more successful in that venture.
I've heard.
Yeah.
But I mean, that'd be a cool project. Just to watch the process would be.
I tell you what, it's time to get some of those son of a foos to work on this for you, because you're too busy, obviously, with other things. So these son of a foos can come in and get these things done.
Yes.
I mean, like, where would you even start in that process? Like,
with item 1.
Yeah.
Every journey begins with the first.
Do you start at like your earliest collected piece, or do you start with something modern, or just the Guinness? I accidentally emailed the wrong Guinness. They sent me a whole bunch of beer.
Oh, yeah. Then you drank it all and forgot what you were contacting them for.
Yep. Yes, original Superman art. Yeah, I'm telling you want to. evaluate something.
It's
It'd be a fun process. Yeah, it'd be fun. I would love to see Foo's process doing it and his whole collection. I would really love to see Lasso's collection because I feel like Lasso's collection is more of a mystery. Because he's got a lot
like white walls.
White walls. His is a mystery. He doesn't know what.
But I'll tell you right off the top of my head, I can think of close to 10 Wonder Woman collectors with far more than what I have.
Yeah, but how many of them want to pursue that record? How many want to go for that
But
record?
the thing is, as soon as I get it, it could be gone. Because then someone will see it and they'll go, I can smoke him, like a microwave.
Right.
And then I'm gone and I'll never get it back.
I know plenty of people who want to, if they wanted to go through that process and I have the most signed comics in my collection. They have way more than me, but they have absolutely zero interest and could care less about that kind of thing. So I'm like, technically I could do it.
What about most Harley costumes in a collection?
Oh, let me tell you what, there's somebody in this chat that, just has way more than anybody that I know. And it ain't me.
Someone in this chat has more Harley cosplay costumes?
Yep. And it's on their Instagram feed. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Russ, which one? I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Yeah, you need to itemize everything, but I mean...
Hey, look, I didn't have to itemize jack, and I got a whole bunch of records. I've got vinyl, CD, cassettes. I don't have any 8-tracks, but I got some downloads, and I have to itemize anything.
MP3s, MP4s.
I got some MP3s.
There you
I got
go.
some waves.
Yeah, I'd be... So, WAV, I remember those.
Yeah, I got some WAVs.
What is that? Windows Audio...
Look, Tommy goes, cassettes?
Cassettes.
Yeah, you play them on your cassette player.
Hey, they still have 8-track at the Electric Band-Aid.
Yeah. Uh-oh. I think Tony's learned something new about Tony.
Tony's learned something new about Tony. Hey, we should have a Tony's only chat one of these days because there's a couple of us. So
I want to be on it.
You can't.
Why?
Your name's not Tony.
Oh.
That'd be fun.
What else is going on news-wise?
Honestly, that's probably the big one. It's been pretty quiet. There's some people that are seeing the early Superman kind of test footage, and they really hate the new Superman costume.
Oh.
Does it have an extra little squirrel on the bottom?
Right here.
I shouldn't say squirrel. Oops. The little loop.
The problem is they feel like it's very animated, like it's really bright and stuff. But I mean,
I like that though.
Who knows? I don't mind the brightness. But if it's any type of CGI, I'm gonna hate it.
Hey, Bobby.
Have pictures of it come out?
Ryan Reynolds. No. Other than the part where he's putting on his boot, but I guess that's not really like the official, Superman suit.
Yeah, it should be bright.
It should be bright. Yeah, I agree. But there's some things they did to it that people are having a problem with. So instead of the cape starting in the back, it starts at the front of the shoulders, like right here. Kind of like a Homelander, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
really Homelander-esque. Yeah, I could care less about that, but there's things on the Superman costume that
I guess it depends. No, it depends. Like we'll actually see on the cover tonight, like depending on how they do it, his cape does come up over the shoulder.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I guess as we segue into the retro review, tonight it was Comic Foo's pick. Why did you pick this? And tell us what it is and why you picked it.
So I picked Adventures of Superman 424 through 426. I picked it just because it's just a great classic story, and it was kind of I guess a bit of a reboot for Superman, right? So this originally was the Superman Volume 1, ended with issue number 423. And then I believe it was years later, right? They rebooted that as Adventures of Superman, and they just picked up the numbering at 424.
It was right after Crisis ended.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
right after Crisis. So technically, this is a number one.
Technically it is, and actually you can see right here, premiere issue.
Yeah. So they also did that with Superman Family. So they took Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane, and Supergirl, who all had individual series, combined them all into one book, but kept the numbering going from Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen because that had the longest number on it.
Right.
So I think that started with like the true issue 1 of Superman Family is like 164.
Right.
If I or 165, one or the other.
And Marvel did that too with some of their books, right? Like the whole stuff. Yeah.
But remember, it's interesting how times have changed because legacy numbering, to have a number that high was prestigious. Then.
Oh yeah.
Look at how much has changed now, especially over at Marvel. My gosh, if they get to issue 12, they're like having a bird that they got to renumber this thing.
Right.
And I do have one question before you kick off our retro review. On this cover, and by the way, these are Marv, Wolfman, Jerry Ordway.
Yes.
Creative
team.
Yeah,
Tony was just talking about Jerry Ordway.
Yeah. Is that Eagly on the cover from Peacemaker?
I didn't watch Peacemaker.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, well, there's a bird, an eagle on there, and named Eagly.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering if that was Eagly.
Could be.
Could be. Take it away, Studio 2814.
All right. So this issue starts out with Lois Lane visiting her mother in the hospital. She's joined there with her sister and her father. Her mother has been in an accident at work, and she's in a coma, basically. It's not looking good. And we see that there's been some family strife in the past, but they're all coming together for the mother here. But the father is kind of barely even recognizing Lois's existence. So there's been some kind of drama between Lois and her father, and her sister's doing her best to keep the peace. We also learned that her sister was recently blind, lost her vision, but now has it returned. But she's still dealing with some of the after psychological effects of having lost her vision. Meanwhile, over in this, I almost said boardroom. I think it's actually with some like world leaders and stuff. The U.S. powers here are basically trying to press some kind of power from the Middle East into controlling their oil, and the Middle Eastern politician here isn't having any of it, right? He's like, we're not aligned with any power, especially not some United States business corporation, right? And so he rushes out of the room and moves on. But you see right outside the building, he says it's time. So this is this Middle Eastern kind of like businessman or politician. It wasn't super clear, but he presses this button and in comes this kind of tank thing. You can see it's all futuristic looking. And it's targeting the boardroom where he just was. So basically attacking those, I guess they were businessmen, maybe not politicians, but basically takes them out is what's happening. So in doing so, the entire building actually falls down, mission accomplished. And then we flash over to Clark Kent. He's on his way to work. He's his typical clumsy self, reading the lost in the newspaper, not paying attention to where he's going, and he bumps into this woman. And the two of them are kind of having like internal thoughts like, wow, he's gorgeous. Oh, she's beautiful, right? Wondering if they're single. And they go to enter the elevator together. But of course, again, clumsy Clark, he gets caught in the elevator door and she tries to help pull him free. The two of them go tumbling down together. Haha. And again, they're both left thinking that each other is very attractive, and that's when they walk into the Daily Planet, and Perry introduces Clark and Lois to the latest reporter on the team, Miss Catherine Grant. And I believe this is her first appearance, right?
That is her first appearance, and it also was Sam Lane's first appearance.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we've got Cat Grant's first appearance here. She says, "Call me Cat," and she recognizes him now as Clark Kent. She's read his articles before, right? And so the two of them again are very interested in each other. Lois is not interested, of course, and the two of them kind of go at it for a moment. And Lois is like, "Perry, why did you hire her? She's just garbage, right?" And he's like, "Hey, she brings in the readers." So with that, Clark and Kat go off together to investigate a story of the building that collapsed, and they go there. And Clark starts using his sorry, not his heat vision, his X-ray vision to see that there are still survivors under the rubble. So he informs the cops and says, "You better go get them." And then Kat and he go continue off. Driving. At that point, over, I believe it's at City Hall, there is another attack. So basically, these are terrorist attacks, as we see. And City Hall has been targeted. The cops are fighting them. It's doing no good. It's almost like this underground tunneling caterpillar type weapon, shooting at them. Kat and Clark show up to the apartment of this guy that they're supposed to be doing an interview with, and the guy's like all sketchy, paranoid, and he's like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" And they introduce themselves. He's like, "Oh yeah, what took you so long? Come on, don't mind the mess." And we learn he's this scientist, and he has created this device that he wants to tell these reporters about because he's afraid the government is going to hide his technology and make him disappear. So he turns it on and it creates this force field around Clark. And no joke, like even with his superpowers, he cannot bust through this thing. It's creating some kind of magnetic field, and it can even stop Superman. In fact, the guy takes out a gun. Cat's like, "No, don't!" Right? And he shoots, and but he doesn't know Clark Kent Superman. Of course, it wouldn't have hurt him anyway. But Cat's like, "Oh no!" And but the magnetic field here actually did work. It protected him. So he turns it off now. He frees Clark, and he's like, "You can see, we could shield the entire country from all of our threats if the government would just listen to me, right?" Then back at City Hall, you see it's kind of like this underground tunneling caterpillar looking machine. It's weird.
Reminds me of that
Um,
movie Tremors.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so Kat's out, looks outside, and she's like, "Wow, I've got a story for you, Clark." But he's already gone. He already detected the problem and changed into Superman, and he's off to stop this crazy terrorist machine. He gets there and is immediately surprised at how strong it is. It puts these like metal like tentacles around him. He's like, "Come on, don't they know I'm Superman?" And before he even has a chance to do anything, it throws him through this building, which causes this like apartment building to like semi collapse. And at this point, you hear them. This voice says, "Plasma repellent, full intensity, power at 89%. Acknowledged, fire." And they fire again at this building and it comes down, but now they say power at 73%, dropping. So whatever technology they're using is decreasing in power each time they fire. And so we get a shot from inside the device here. There's all these guys in these weird suits hooked up to some kind of like, looks like their brains are connected to something. And they're saying that he's like, I'm aware we're losing power, rebuild power with number 11 and 13. And so they do. And then they're like, "Okay, 92% complete." And the guy turns around and says to this woman here, he's like, "I'm sorry about 11. I know he meant a lot to you." And she responds, "He understood the risk. So do I. I'm next, aren't I?" And the guy's like, "Uh huh." She says, "Thank you." So I don't know what that's about, but we get the sense that, these, they refer to each other by numbers. And in order to power the device, it would appear as if, they're giving up their life in order to power the machine, and there's an order that they go in, so they know when their time's next. Really weird. And I believe that's actually all we're going to get for this as part of this issue. We'll have to learn more of the mystery later.
You will in my review.
All right. So Superman is now being trapped under this building. He's fighting it off, pushing it out of the way. He goes to attack this thing again, and immediately it's so fast it crushes him again. And he's really surprised at how it's able to take him over like this. The cops are like, "Hey, go get reinforcements." They're like, "Yeah, who am I going to go get? He just took out Superman." Meanwhile, Lois Lane is getting bad news that her mother's condition is getting worse. She tells her sister she will be there in the evening. She's got a story to get to. Um, Jimmy Olsen comes in to talk to her, and she's very, brief with him. Doesn't have time. She's got a lot on her mind with her mom. She rushes out, and this limo driver's like, "Hey, my boss wants to talk to you," and she's like, "No," and he pushes her, and he's like, "No, now," and it's of course her boss is Lex Luthor. Back to Superman. He punches his way out of the rubble. Again, he sees somebody trapped underneath. He goes and saves somebody. Um, and this weird cop, he's like, "Oh, geez, what a jerk! I had him here, and I didn't ask for his autograph. Like here he is saving people. Like you're gonna stop and ask him for his autograph. Like that's great." He says,
Hey,
"Nobody will believe me now."
if you're a signature king, you're a signature king.
True. Yeah. What a jerk, Tony. All right. So Superman is trying to figure out who is behind this. He's left with no clues, so he goes to the police and he talks to the police about it. And the police think that it's this terror organization called the Kurak Terrorists. Superman's like, maybe they're some kind of like, I think, Middle Eastern terrorists. He's like, but could they really would they have this technology? It seems like they need a lot of money and tech. And Superman's thinking to himself, this feels like Lex Luthor, right? So he goes back off to fight the next machine. There's multiple machines attacking the city. This one, he's fighting it and it's pulling away. And that's when he realizes up from behind him came all the other machines. They got us. They snuck up on him and attack him from behind. At that point, I'm sorry. Then we flash back over to Lois Lane. She's now at Lex Luthor's private jet, being escorted on, kind of against her will. She's like, we learn very quick Luthor has a romantic interest in Lois. She's not having any of it. And he's like, "Look, I invited you here to show you what a good guy can be. And, I've already done something to help you. Here, want some champagne?" She says, "No, I only drink with friends." He's like, "Well, I'm hoping you will be after this." And he basically goes on to tell her that he heard that her mother had this accident at some small subsidiary of LexCorp. So he feels guilty. So he took all of his top scientists and recruited them to find a cure for Lois's mother. And they've discovered it. Unfortunately, she has to take a new dose every month. And so, of course, Lois is not in a position to say no, and she's like, "All right," and has to accept dinner as with Lex Luthor now as a result. Back to Superman fighting these machines, and they start coming together like a Power Ranger Zord. Um, and together, you see they almost create like this scorpion type thing. Together, they are stronger, and they are ready to attack him. Back to Luthor, he sends they're on this like island, and he sends Lois Lane back on the jet by herself back to Metropolis. He's here with this woman who apparently is his confidant of some kind, and she's like basically like, "You won, and Miss Lane now needs to accept her defeat, and she knows she lost." And this is where Luthor explains that it was actually him that caused the accident to make her mother sick so that he could produce the cure. And that Lois never even bothered to ask how quickly he came up with the cure, or why there couldn't be a single dose cure, why she has to come back every month. And it turns out Luthor did all of that on purpose just to endear himself to Lois Lane. And that is where this story ends.
So what I got out of that story was this, and tell me if I'm wrong, okay?
Yep.
I want to stir the spaghetti sauce with you, so I'm going to make your mother sick.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I also got, I want to stir the spaghetti sauce with you. Ooh, I want to stir the spaghetti sauce with you, meow.
Yep.
Clark Kent and Cat Grant. I kind of forgot that.
Yeah.
All right, so into the next issue we go. What do you guys think about that cover?
It's awesome cover.
Yeah, that is an awesome cover, and it is reflective of the story as well. So as we start on the next page, we get a full page splash of Professor Hamilton. And we don't exactly know, and we won't know until the end of the story, who he's actually speaking to as he retells his story. But he was desperate for someone to listen to his story because no one else pays attention to him. He wants this person to know what he did, how the government tried to keep it secret, how he was able to imprison Superman. And he says, if one person remembers my name or my work, then it won't be in vain. You know, the government tried to blackmail me. When I was broke, I received an offer almost out of nowhere for good money, or at least I thought it was. Then he goes on to proceed and talks about this meeting he had with Lex Luthor. And, you know, he knows Lex was a scientist before becoming a successful businessman, and he was a fan of his scientific work. And he offers him, Lex offers him some bourbon, but he turns it down. He says, I don't drink. And he says, well, you should. Everything in moderation, you know. Drink, work, women, all good for the soul. And so Luthor tells him what his purpose is of coming there. And he says, you know, I know of your magnetic field generator, Professor, that you developed when you were at Hitek Incorporated. He's like, well, what of it? He's like, well, I own Hitek. So you worked on your invention on my time with my computers. Therefore, by the contract you signed when you joined Hitek, I own your work. I own your work, all of your work. And he's like, no, that's mine. And he's like, no, it really isn't, you know, and I expect you to provide all the blueprints in my office by 9 o'clock tonight. If you don't do so, I'm going to sue your ass. He doesn't say your ass. I just added that in for dramatic effect. But he says, I'm going to sue you. And the professor is obviously upset, almost hits him. And he's like, you know, I put 20 years of my life into that. He's like, well, 20 years of your life and 3 weeks of my computer's time. And then he says, well, you know what? You know, I can be a little bit generous here. Let's see. I will pay you for your 3 weeks on the computer, 6 days a week, 10 hours at a time at $50 an hour. So $7,600. And I think that's more than generous. And then we owe you nothing, you know, essentially get out of here. And he's like, he's livid. And he's like, you're stealing this from me. How can you do this to me? And he didn't know what to do. So he went home and he's like, I will destroy my invention before I let Luthor take this from me. It's mine. You know, first the government tells me the magnetic impulses I use are unsafe. Then they refuse to even test it on a defense weapon. And then they deny me a patent. And he's just spiraling down in all this bad luck that's happened to him. And he thought that Luthor would actually help him. And he turned out just wanting to hurt him more. All of a sudden, his home gets broken into, and he's like, who are you? And these thugs are like, we're your conscience, and you've got something that doesn't belong to you. Give it back. So they rough him up pretty good, and he says, you know, they never said that they work for Luthor, but who else could it be? I mean, I don't understand. So he went to the police, and they're like, hey, Mr. Luthor is one of our most respected citizens, and he's trying to plead his story to the cop, and the cop's like, well, you have to have some type of genuine proof behind this. You can't just say this. So he didn't know what to do again. He thought, Luthor's to the point that he's going to have me killed now. So he ended up talking to a company that had actually turned down his plans before, but he's like grasping at straws now. And the man from that company says, hey, our previous decision still stands. Your invention is too dangerous. You need to dismantle it. You need to work on something that is less troublesome, something like a clean nuclear device. So he goes home. He's running out of money. He's about to get sued. He doesn't want his work stolen. And this man shows up. And first he thinks he's with Luthor's company. And he says, no. He introduces himself as Henry Wyatt from a different company who's heard of his work. And they followed his career. and they want to offer him a chance to partake in a venture. And they've heard about this device, and they want to finance it because they believe in it, and they think it might be worth billions when it's perfected. So, and they're like, if it works, and you'll receive a contract that you can show to your lawyer, your genius will make you wealthy, and we want to go along for the ride. And he says with the proper financing, it only took a matter of days to complete his work and remake a brand new one. So now they have this completely redone, and it's time to test it out. And they got his prototype there. It's the perfect defense system, is no longer a dream. He says, witness reality, the complete mastering of magnetic waves. And then you see that magnetic cage kind of appears around him, just like it did in Superman in the previous issue. And they're like, he's like, I formed this magnetic cage around you. 1,000 computer-controlled devices such as this could just easily surround our country with a complete, web link system. And he's like, imagine how this could protect people. And he goes to show, he pulls out a gun and starts firing, and they're freaking. They're like, you're going to kill him. And he's like, no. He's like, the bullets I fired just vaporized on contact with my magnetic shield. He gets out a blowtorch, and fire, electrical, bacterial attack. This can withstand all of that. And then all of a sudden they realize something is going wrong. And they're like, what is it? And then it sends out like this electrical current, and it kills the guy that was inside of the cage. And they're like, you killed him. And now Professor Hamilton's really freaking out. He's like, I tested this dozens of times. Even in my earliest prototypes, this never happened. This isn't my fault. And they're like, well, he's dead, and it can't be by some just random fluke. You squandered our money, and how could we trust you? How could we believe in you? You're a thief and a killer. And so he, leaves, and he is really freaked out. He tried to run, but he was afraid that they would take his invention. So he couldn't stray so far, but he just wanted people to know what he had built. And then he says, you know what happens next, don't you? There were those terrorist attacks throughout the city. Some manner of mechanical monster set loose on a killing spree. Terrorists, the television said, terrorists condemning America. So Superman appeared. He was going to try to stop them. But I knew he couldn't, and I knew that I needed to help. So here we're kind of talking about what happened in Foo's issue. We have this Freedom League with this device, this almost caterpillar earthworm type device like we had in last issue. And they're declaring that they're ready to take Superman down. And Superman realizes it's no use trying to dodge these blasts. And the more that he holds back, the more private property is destroyed. And he's like, I need to stop this and not let them get a direct hit, whoever they are, because he still doesn't know who they are. These metal bands appear, and they seem a little more effective than they did the last time. And they send out so much electrical current that it stuns him for a brief second. It wears off fast, but he wasn't actually expecting that to happen. He is able to bust them and break them free with his super strength, even though it was a little bit tougher. And the entire surface of this is electrified, so he realizes it's best not to tempt fate by touching anything more than he has to do. He has to borrow a big girder beam from this construction site, and they lend it to him. And he essentially he whacks it with that big steel beam to try to dismantle the armor, the gun portion of that's sticking out, that's firing the blast. Then all of a sudden he gets hit again. He's completely surprised and realizes that these weapons that he's fighting are very advanced. It's more than any terrorist nation, and the modus operandi isn't like Lex Luthor's. So no matter how crazy it may be, and then this missile appears, and he's like, I can't let it hit me. So he starts to fly away from it. But this missile not only is keeping up to him, it's starting to gain speed. At this point, Professor Hamilton is walking through. He realizes what happened. He's like, if I could have saved Superman, I could prove to the government that my machine works. I knew I could do it, don't you see? I had no intention of hurting Superman. He was going to prove that my machine worked. We cut back to Superman, who's flying, trying to steer clear of this missile that's right after him. He comes up with a pretty good idea, fly incredibly close to the machine that was attacking him, pull out at the last moment, and let the missile hit the armor. So he realizes there are people inside. He can hear heartbeats. he's like, this won't kill the people that are inside because he's still concerned about their life, but he's like, it will shake them up a little bit and possibly stop the attacks. And then that is successful by diverting at the last moment. The missile does hit this mechanical monster, and the people inside are still alive. So he's trying to get in there and rip in there when all of a sudden the professor fires his machine and puts a big grid and encompasses Superman and the robot. And he knows it's Professor Hamilton, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm containing your fight, letting the world know what I can do. This is for everyone's benefit. Then he says, but Superman didn't believe me. Metropolis would be safe, and the world would see how my work could benefit them and save them from war. He's like, don't you understand how important my machine was? And Superman tells him that this is starting to get out of hand, let us down and get out of here. He's like, no way, I got to show the world. And he's like, okay, I'll worry about this later. I got to get to the bottom of this. So the machine is still functioning some, and it's hitting him a couple times and surprising him a little bit. They got this plasma cannon. So he goes to take that out, and then he gets a concussion blast with increasing power. He says it's hard to fight back. It's almost impossible to resist. He's like, great, just great. Hamilton's energy grid is draining off my strength as well because he's up against that energy grid. He's like, I need some protection. He's like, the metal hatch, if I can keep conscious, force my hand down and pick up the hatch, and he's able to fling it at it. And then he notices something. He's like, the Freedom League stopped broadcasting their threats. I haven't heard from them since this fight has began. So he's able to rip open and start to get inside the machine. He's like, nothing mechanical could keep up an attack like this for long. He's like, there they are. He's like, party's over. I want some answers. And they're like, you're not getting it, Superman. The Freedom League will not surrender, and you will not take us prisoners. The vessel is powered by our energies. It feeds off our brain waves. We are part of these machines, and we give ourselves over to the cause now. And Superman yells, don't do it. He's like, you can't kill yourself. Please listen to me. Don't kill yourself. My God, they don't care. They just don't care. And they kill themselves inside of the machine, and everything starts blowing up. So Superman bolts, and he's like, they would rather take their own lives and destroy the machine so no one could get any evidence or investigate this wreckage. He's like, what sort of leader could generate that sort of response from a person? He's like, I don't even know who the Freedom League is. I don't know where they're from or if Luthor's behind this. He's like, but this is sick. It's a terrible waste of life. And then Professor Hamilton's like, we did it, Superman, together. My field generator contained that explosion and nobody was harmed. It proves what I've been saying all along. My device works. And the crowd is like, you saved us, Superman. You kicked those terrorist butts. You did it. You did it. And then a reporter wants to ask him a question. Why are they attacking them? Who were they? What did you do to them? Our viewers are waiting to hear from you. But he says, I'm really not up for a press conference right now. And he starts to walk away. And they're like, oh, what a hero. What a fight we just saw. But Professor Hamilton's like, hey, that was my force field they fought in. I saved the city. I'm told damage. Listen, my name is, and they're like, yeah, we're really not interested. Hey, maybe we could catch up to Superman and he'll talk to us now. So they take off and they leave Professor Hamilton behind. And he's saying they wouldn't listen. I couldn't get anyone to believe me. The government ignored me. Luthor tried to steal my machine. CompuCon accused me of murder. They all ignored me. I swore to myself no more. I swore to myself never again. And then he's like, you're listening to me, aren't you? And we still don't know who he's talking to at this point. And he's like, I knew what I had to do then. I had to prove my case. I worked day and night through the next week. And on Sunday morning, when it was very early out, he sent a message that only Superman could hear. And he's like, I want you to meet with me right now on 5th Avenue. I have a hostage. And he realizes it's Hamilton's voice. And he's like, I don't know what he wants, but I don't have a choice, especially if there's a life at stake. So Superman arrives and he tells him, hey, stand where you are. And Superman's like, hey, we can talk this out and work this through. He's like, everyone thinks I'm a fool. I got nothing to lose anymore. The government will listen to me. Luthor is filing motions in court to steal my machine. Everyone's ignored me. He's like, but not anymore, Superman. I picked this strumpet off the streets. Nobody will miss her if she dies. And he says, I will, Hamilton. It doesn't matter who she is or what she's done. I'll do what I have to do to save her. He's like, that's just what I expected you to say. So he puts up an entire grid and once again wants to prove. And Superman starts to get closer to him, and he's set a whole bunch of weapons into motion. Once again, a whole pathway is filled with weapons to try to stop Superman. And some of them, if you scroll down a little bit, are a little bit successful, even in his aspect of trying to get closer to Hamilton. And he's getting thrown around, a little bit. But he gets up after each walloping, and he's like, "Stop the madness, Hamilton, let her go." He's like, "Well, your heat vision can't penetrate my magnetic shield, Superman. Nothing can." And then all of a sudden, Superman realizes the ground is starting to give way. Then I like these next panels. There's like these mechanical hands reach up, grab his feet, and yank him under the streets. But it only lasts for a moment, and Superman's back up again. And he's got this gun to this woman's head. And he says, "Remember, you have an innocent to fail. If you fail, it wins." And this mailbox in disguise opens up and starts squirting this glop over his body. And he needs to put something between that to stop it. So he's able to get a fire hydrant top off, so that kind of diverts it from continuing to land on him. And he's finally able to break through the shell that it coated him in. And he's like, "My science is stronger than you." And Superman's like, "No." And he still fires some electricity at him, and Superman still keeps walking. Superman says, "Science is never greater than man. Hamilton, please give up. What you're trying to do is insane." He says, "No, I've been stopped too often in the past. I won't let that happen to me again." And he's like, Superman is right up now in his face. He's like, "It's over. You can't hurt me. You know it." He's like, "I know, Superman, but I can't live with this either. Nobody ever listened. Nobody ever cared. So I don't care anymore. I'm destroying the machine and taking the three of us with it." Superman's like, "I won't let that happen, Hamilton. Even to you, you need help." And he says, "I'm beyond help." And Superman's like, "There's an innocent woman here. At least let her go. We can talk this out." And Hamilton's like, "No." And the woman yells, "Superman, do something." And he does something. He jumps over the bomb and covers his body with it to take the brunt of the explosion, which saves all of them. And, he goes back up to Hamilton and then starts to get woozy a little bit. And then Hamilton's like, "Oh my God, what did I do?" And at this point, the police are up to him and they're like, "Hey, I give up. Just take care of Superman first. He's the priority, please." So now we go back to our last page, which is just like on page 1 where we started. And he's like, "I gave up. It was simple as that. I tried to tell the reporters about my machine. They didn't care. Nobody ever listened. By now, Luthor probably has my machine. He'll take the credit for my genius while I rot in here." And we realize he's in jail. And he's been speaking to a guard. And he says, "Guard, are you listening to me, guard?" And the guard says, "You say something, Mac?" He's like, "Say something?" And he realizes this guy never paid attention to him either. And he says, "No, I didn't say a word. Nothing."
That's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Hello to Carlito, who joined us.
It's an interesting predicament for Superman, that's for sure.
Yeah. My story had no Lois Lane in it.
No?
Yeah.
And this is the short hair Lois Lane.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's this bad boy right here. Okay. Last one, do you want to put mine up?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. So, pretty cool cover. This is a crossover with DC Legends. So, this comes out of the Legends category, or continuity of story, But again, it's still Marv, Wolfman, and Jerry Ordway, so you know it's going to be good. This story was a little confusing, but yeah, it makes sense at the end. So, we start off on Apokolips, and their version of the garbage man is going through the trash and unclogging things. And who does he pull out? The Man of Steel. And they're very confused. Like, there's no way anybody could have survived down there. So they haul him up and they treat him like cargo all the way to their little home base. But Superman still won't wake up, and they don't know what to do. So they do the most natural of things to do to wake somebody up. Burn his hand. Set his hand on fire. And Superman wakes up, and he's also confused because the flames hurt him. Not something he's used to. So he's in a bit of a shock. As then it turns out, he's landed amongst some of Apokolips's poorest people. And they're in the midst of a rebellion. So they say, holy cow, this guy survived all this way here. He must be some kind of Superman. Yeah, it's kind of the point. So they started naming him Savior. The S stands for Savior. Savior, Savior, Savior. And they say Darkseid must be stopped. Well, we cut to Darkseid, and it says, hey, bring me this so-called Savior. Bring me Superman. Here come the parademons to collect Superman, and Superman is able to fend off the parademons. Not quite with the ease that he's used to, but hey, Superman beat most of the parademons by himself. So we cut to Highfather, and he goes to the source and it says, hey, this revolution on Apokolips, is this Savior? Is he the one? Is he the one supposed to free us from Darkseid's grip? We cut back to the poor people, I guess. There's really no name for them, but they're talking about revolution and victory, and they give Superman a bath, which is great. And the Lady Grace says, hey, listen, you don't need your old rags anymore. I have some really cool armor for you. The armor that you need to be a warrior. So this is how it's going to be. And then they share a kiss, and they eventually, I assume, make some sort of spaghetti, some kind of sauce. And we see that they're making like these Superman dolls. Even on Apokolips, with Superman merchandise, and
Even
they're talking.
on Apokolips, they know the recipe to stir the spaghetti sauce.
They know the exact recipe for spaghetti sauce. Someone vandalizes a sculpture of Darkseid and turns it into Superman. But here it comes. This is the day of the battle. Darkseid's troops against the Apokolips Highfather troop. I don't know who it is, but yeah, it's long. It's bloody. It's intense. But Superman and Grace come out on top, and they say, look at this victory we did. We're free from Apokolips's reign. Look upon our kingdom. And Superman says, hey, I can't take all the credit. Let me introduce you to the guy with the man with the plan. The mastermind behind all of this, and it's Darkseid. And Darkseid says, "You have served me well, my son." So a little bit of crisscross applesauce, and that wraps up this story. But
yeah,
cool.
Sorry about that, Tony. I didn't realize I handed you the crossover issue with Legends.
No, that's okay. I know the Legends storyline pretty well, so
yeah.
It was confusing, but it wasn't that confusing at the same time. But I like Legends crossovers. I like stuff that takes place on Apokolips.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think about these 3-issue stories, these 3-issue premieres for this title?
I thought they were very good.
Yeah, I loved the first two. I thought that was a great way to do a Superman story.
Yeah.
Definitely different tones. Then you can definitely tell that this is a new version of Superman.
Yes.
That this is a rebooted Superman here at the beginning. So
yeah, and for me, just given my age, this is much more familiar Superman for me.
So what was interesting for me, real quick, Signature King, I had the issue you reviewed and the issue that Tony reviewed in my collection, but for whatever reason, I didn't have the issue that I reviewed. So I had always kind of wondered, I've been thinking about, because these aren't expensive books. I was like, should I get this just to fill it in at least? Because I'm at that age where instead of buying new back issue series, I'm trying to fill in my holes of what I already have. And at least it seems better to have 3 consecutive issues than have that hole in the middle. But now that I read the story, I'm like, it is a good story, and I think I would enjoy it. So that probably will tip the scale for me in the future. Next time I see it in a dollar bin or whatever.
Yeah, you can totally find them in the dollar bin.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I got like my whole Adventures collection out of the dollar bin. Perfect shape.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tony.
No, I was going to say for me, these give off real, for me, and Adventures of Superman animated vibes. I don't know why, but,
Yeah, I can see that.
but
Yep.
hey, it's hard to go wrong with Marv Wolfman and Jerry Ordway. You know, it's
Yeah,
I can't think of a bad issue they've ever done.
yeah.
Of
Good writing
anything.
and good art.
Yeah, classics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this went on to where they had the 4 series, right? They had Superman, Action, Adventures, and then they also came out with the Man of Steel.
Steel.
And it
Mhm.
was those 4 titles that then led into the death of Superman and then the 4 new Supermen coming back.
Yeah.
Interesting. Looking at the last issue here of Adventures of Superman, it's very retro.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I enjoyed it.
Grades, what would you give it out of 10?
Out of 10,
I like it. I'm gonna go 9.
I was going to say 8, but yeah.
I was thinking 8 as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
We're all kind of
Tony's
in
a
the
sucker
same
for
neighborhood.
Legends.
Yeah, he
I'm a
likes
sucker
those
for Legends. I'm a sucker for Jerry Ordway. So
Now, had you read that story before, or was that new
I
for
have
you?
not. That was a new one for me. So
All right.
I was one.
So
I
we're
enjoyed.
increasing your Legends knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
All right. I take back my apology then.
There's so many branches for Legends. It's insane. It's a big tree.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're at the book show / if you have a channel with something to promote on it portion of the show. Tony, you want to go first?
Yeah. I speaking of Jerry Ordway, I'm going to show this bad boy off. There we go. It is just a print I picked up from Jerry Ordway just to show my support, for him as an artist. So, why not? He went
It
ahead
looks
and signed
AI
for
to
me.
me.
Oh, it's AI. Yep. It's actually a cover from Power Shazam issue 20. Came out in late 95, I believe. So AI wasn't around. But as for Superman, I'm going to show this off too. This kind of takes place on Darkseid or on Apokolips 2. Superman Future State #1, signed by Philip Kennedy Johnson and Becky Cloonan. Magic Lasso's favorite.
Yes, I do like some Becky Cloonan.
Yes. Coming up on my channel, I'm actually in the middle of editing a really cool haul video that I got from CBCS. And you can actually see those books right now. If you have a keen eye of what my little man cave looks like, you can actually see some of them. So stay tuned if you want to see what those are. So look for that probably Tuesday or Wednesday.
Cool. And Fu, what would you like to show for a book show portion?
Well, I forgot to wear my Superman shirt, but I did bring
I noticed that.
Superman. I did bring a Superman book show. So, Lasso, this is for you. I know you like the Treasury.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
So,
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I shared this before, but I thought
don't
this
remember
I
was
don't
a
think I've ever seen that
cool
before.
book.
What's
Yeah,
the
so
back
this
cover
is-
look like?
that out.
Oh, that's classic.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was flipping through this, and it's basically, it's just stuff from the movie,
Yeah.
but you get this nice centerfold,
Yep.
That's
and then
amazing.
some more. Get color every once in a while. It goes through each of the different characters in the movie. And what was the one page I was looking at? Oh well. There's some very good pages in here. It's a very cool book. Oh, here it is. Hold on. Here you go. There you
Has
go.
it-
Testmacher. That's cool.
So yeah, I don't even remember where I found that. But I saw it. It was just like I had to have it. I didn't know if it was worth
Yeah.
anything. It was just like I want it.
Yeah, it's fun.
So
That's cool. Well, on my channel, let's talk about what I've done, and then we'll talk about what's coming. So, last week I had this past week I had a comic book editions video with comic books from the Avengers and comic books from Justice League of America that I've added into my collection. The Avengers comic books, gave me a consecutive run of something like 110 plus issues now because of the ones that I filled in showing on that video. And then, of course, I'm working on my Justice League of America. That's a priority for me. And I had a goal with that. So I at the beginning of the year, I set a 3-year goal because I had 36 Justice League books to get. So I said 12 a year for the next 3 years. That's my goal. Well, I've already hit my 12 for this year already. So that doesn't mean I'm stopping. But so I share those in the comic book editions video that's on my channel already, which is Comic Book Editions Volume 197. Then on Wednesday, John's Comics with Kids and I did our very first JLA versus Avengers show where we took issue 1 from both titles and let the two teams essentially battle it out in a sense of who had, the better cover, who had the better story, which hero or which team had the MVP, and then an overall winner. And so we did that. That's going to be a monthly show that will rotate between my channel and John's channel. So we did that this past week. Of course, there's the back issue of the week. It was on Red Tornado this past week. So coming up on the channel, tomorrow there'll be another back issue of the week. This one will be a Marvel. It's time for a Marvel character. And then my comic book editions video on Tuesday. The title of the video is The Quest for Cheetah. So I'll leave that right there. So that's what's coming this upcoming week on my channel. For a book show, so today we mentioned at the beginning of this that Adventures of Superman took its numbering from Superman Volume 1 because they rebooted that with a brand new number 1 into Volume 2. But I thought the last issue of Superman Volume 1 might be a fun one to show. So this is issue 423. What's that? Newsstand. And
Nice.
Sometimes a book like that's so good, you get another one.
Oh, there you go.
And what's that one? Newsstand. So,
Very nice.
it's a historic last issue. So I thought that would be a fun book show.
Very cool.
Tony, do you realize that you're doing the retro review pick for next week?
I do. I already have one lined up.
Oh,
With a guest.
With a guest?
yes.
With a guest.
Well,
The last guest I didn't realize was attending a convention out on the West Coast, so that'd be.
oh, okay.
I didn't know that, so that's why I couldn't attend. So
Pretty good
we have a
reason.
really good pick coming up, really good guest. So stay tuned.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Well,
I was gonna have a guest this week, but he decided to play Pokemon instead. So
yeah.
Yeah, at this point, if he ever returns, he's going to be a guest.
Exactly. He's talking about the ATIM.
Yes.
Trainer
So-
Tim.
Yeah. Trader Tim.
Trainer Tim.
So, for those of you that joined us in the live chat, thank you so much. If you watched on the rewind, of course, we appreciate you making it all the way to the end because it is the greatest DC comic show on YouTube. This has been Fanboys Live in the Retro Review. We hope you have a happy, healthy, and successful week and look forward to visiting with you with our content this week and the show next Sunday. Until then, take care. Up, up, and away!